Hiya, welcome to Craftwerk. I'm Ruthie and today I'm back with another pattern review for you. So you may have seen this in my autumn winter capsule wardrobe video and I briefly mentioned it, and I thought I would go into a little bit more detail because I wanted to talk about the pattern itself, and it is the Coco jacket by Sew Over It. Now, you may have seen my big wardrobe clear out that I did at the beginning of this year, at the beginning of 2018. And in that video, I found myself throwing out a lot of clothes that happened to be Sew Over It patterns. As I said in that video, it's nothing to do with Sew Over It. It's more to do with the fact that I wasn't choosing the right patterns for me, or I wasn't choosing the right fabrics for me to go with the patterns. So yeah, nothing to do with Sew Over It themselves. I think it's a great pattern company and great company in general. I did a trouser course with them a couple of years ago and it was amazing, and I highly recommend doing any of their classes. Having said that, I haven't made a Sew Over It pattern for a while. And last year I signed up for the PDF club and I don't think I ever sewed any of their new patterns last year. It just happened to be that none of the patterns really spoke to me at the time. However, I did sign up again this year. Not sponsored at all, but the PDF club with Sew Over It, you pay £5 and you get a free pattern. Now bear in mind their PDF patterns are £7.50, you're already saving money. And then you get early access to their new releases, and they release a new PDF pattern every month. You get early access and 10% off. So it seemed like a bit of a no-brainer to sign up. Plus I didn't need to decide on the free PDF straight away. So I bought the PDF club membership again and thought I'd just wait to see some of the new patterns before I decided on the initial pattern to download. And then you will recognise the fabric because I made the Lander pants and the Ronya dungarees in this fabric. I'd bought 5 meters. I managed to get dungarees and trousers out of it, and then I still had about just over a metre, maybe even a metre and a half left. So I had this idea to do a little jacket. There have been reasons in my life that I've kind of felt like I might need a blazer or something similar recently. So I remembered that I had the Sew Over It PDF club free pattern still to download, and I remembered that they had the Coco jacket that they released sometime last year. So that's the inspiration behind this jacket and how that came to pass. Even though it maybe doesn't look like it would be my style, I felt like if I did it in a plain black with no fringing, and yeah, in this suedette, which is quite light, it would kind of feel like my style, or I'd be able at least to use it when I needed to be a little bit more grown up. Plus, I've been really enjoying making coats and jackets and stuff recently, so it seemed like a good project to have a go at. So yeah, I'm not going to go into too much detail about the fabric because I've mentioned it in my Ronya dungarees video and my Lander pants video. You can check them out below or have a look at the reviews in the blog posts. But it's a suedette that I bought from Rolls and Rems in Lewisham for £5 a metre. I got 5 metres of it. And I did end up using pretty much all of the fabric in the end, which is another really great thing about buying lots of one fabric. If you know that you're going to use lots of it, or you can imagine it in lots of different garments that might become like staples in your wardrobe, then it's worth getting a lot of it. And it's been really good for me to practice these new patterns as well before I take the plunge with a more expensive denim or linen or something like that. So yeah, this fabric's really nice. It's basically like a polyester, but it doesn't feel too much like it. And I've lined it with a simple black cotton. So yeah, I'm going to mainly talk about the pattern. So first of all, this is, I would say, an intermediate pattern. I think that's what they say on their website as well. It's an intermediate pattern. It's definitely not something that you want to try off the bat because it's got quite a lot of panels, as you can see. So it's not just like a front and a back and sleeves. It's got a number of panels, 2 panels on the front, 1 on the side, and then it's in 2 sections on the back as well. This does mean that it's you can fit it a little bit easier if you want to. I kind of don't want to. I probably could have got away with doing a pattern that was a little bit simpler, but I learnt a lot doing this, so it's okay. I made it in a size 12, I think, and I definitely should have made it in a size 10 maximum. Might have been able to get away with a size 8. That sounds pretty crazy for me, but my top half has always been a bit smaller than my bottom half. So yeah, it definitely could be a little bit smaller. It's nowhere near as fitted as I think it's designed to be. But that being said, because it's not as fitted, it feels a little bit more me. I find Sew Over It patterns really easy to follow in general. The instructions are super, super clear. The only thing I'd say is they use photographs rather than illustrations, at least for this pattern. I think for all the others as well. I personally prefer illustrations because it can be a little bit easier, and I would say with this pattern, I think they chose a slightly odd fabric for the photos for the instructions, because it's like a really loose weave and it's got quite a lot of, I don't know, it's got some different colours in it. It feels like quite a busy fabric. Sometimes it was quite hard to see what it was they were trying to show me, I think if you're going to use photos for a pattern, then you need to do something that's a little bit more plain in some ways, or at least like really shows up and you can like see the difference, see how everything's put together a little bit easier. I did find it a little bit difficult to like see from the pattern what they were saying. The bit that I struggled with the most was these side panels, and you will see that I didn't really ever manage it properly, and I think in the plain fabric that really, really shows up, which is a bit of a shame, but I don't know. I don't mind it too much. I know that no one else will notice, especially because it's hidden just at the side. Usually my arms are over it as well. But yeah, it's about easing it in. That I definitely struggled with a bit, and as I say, I couldn't really see properly from the pictures how they were doing it. At one point I even thought maybe I'd cut out things wrong because it seemed like there was just so much excess fabric to ease in. I think in the end I didn't, and it was right, but so yeah, I got a little bit of puckering on the sides, but it's not something that I mind too much. I also did the first panel, I did top stitching, and then I didn't do it for the rest, I think mainly because I forgot, but I kind of wish I did because I think it looks really nice to have the top stitching here. It just makes that seam a bit cleaner and a bit crisper, which I really, really love. And then I ended up doing top stitching all the way round as well to make everything like quite crisp, especially because this is maybe a slightly lighter weight fabric than this pattern is designed for. The other thing that I struggled with a little bit was working out the sleeves, how to attach the lining to the sleeves. I hadn't done that before. However, I remembered that a little while back I'd actually bought the Coco online class, I think when it was on special offer. For some reason I decided that it would be really useful and that I would make it. However, I haven't made the Coco, but I found it really useful for making this as well, particularly with watching her like attach the sleeve. However, someone posted on a forum I was on about it and saying that they didn't really understand how to do it, and they were talking about the Coco jacket. So I managed to find a video that pretty much showed you how to do it. So I will link that down below as well. But yeah, it did make me realise that the Coco online course is really useful for a number of things. And despite the fact I haven't made the Coco, I have actually used it a few times for other things, for working out different techniques or for some tips on particular fabrics, particularly coat stuff and, you know, interfacing and all of those things. It is quite useful, but it is a little bit pricey. So as I say, I've linked like the sleeve. I've forgotten what it's called, but yeah, I've linked how you attach the lining sleeve to the main sleeve in the description box below. So if you are doing something like the Coco jacket and you're a bit stuck on that, don't forget to check that out. And actually this ended up being like much more of a labour of love than I expected it to be. It was kind of just a quick like, oh, I could actually do with a jacket like that, and this is an idea that I've got, and oh, it happens to be that I've got this PDF club membership. I'll just whip it up. I whipped it up. It was a little bit big, and the main place that I found it too big was on the shoulders. So I'll insert a picture here that I shared where the shoulders are too far over, so that looks a little bit odd, and it felt a bit odd to wear. With sew over it patterns, I always find that there's a lot of ease in the sleeve head. There's a lot of extra fabric, and you have to really, really ease the sleeve into the shoulder. And I always end up with like a little bit on sew over anything that I've made from sew over it, and I kind of just figured that was maybe down to the style, because they're kind of like a vintage style. But then when it happened with the Coco jacket, I referred back to the product pictures, and it didn't look like the sleeves were supposed to be like that at all. So I knew I'd kind of maybe done that wrong, and I needed to like work on my sleeve insertion. At this point, I'd sewed everything together and decided it was finished, but then I didn't want to wear it. A couple of times I went to put it on, like I say, when I was trying to be a little bit more grown up. I went to put it on, and it didn't feel right. It was too big on the shoulder particularly, and it just felt weird. So I decided to take it apart and fix those issues. Now, that was quite daunting with this, because as I say, I had top stitched around the edge at this point, so I'd really kind of decided it was finished, and to take it apart would mean quite a lot of unpicking. The last thing that you do is to hand sew up the closing where you've kind of turned everything inside out. So I unpicked just that hand sewing, turned it back inside out. I then unpicked the sleeve hems, then I unpicked the shoulders for both the lining and the main fabric. Then I took it in by only about an inch. I knew I didn't have to come in too far for it to, really make a difference. That kind of also made the whole armhole a little bit wider, which meant I didn't have to do quite as much easing in anyway. But then I also tried really hard to make sure that I was really easing it in without creating any puckering or too much excess fabric. Put the sleeves in again, sewed the sleeve hems up again, turned it back inside out, and was so much happier with it then. I can't tell you the difference it made. Now I want to wear this all the time. I actually genuinely like it, and genuinely think it fits in with my wardrobe quite well. I can just smarten up a pair of jeans by wearing it. I can even wear it with my Lander pants, which at first I thought it was just this weird suedette suit that kind of looked a bit odd. Now I actually think it's quite a cool take on a suit. I don't know, maybe you think it looks a bit odd. I'd love to hear what you think. So yeah, I really, really love it now, but it was definitely a labour of love. It definitely taught me that if I have issues with something, particularly fit issues, I need to fix it, because if I don't, then I'm never going to wear it, and it is so worth it, even though it feels annoying when you finish the project, to go back and redo it, especially for something like this where there's a lining and it's all sewn up, and you feel like you might have to take everything apart. In the end, I didn't have to take as much apart as I thought I would. Now I've got this little jacket that fits in really well in my wardrobe, and yeah, it makes me feel super grown up when I wear it. Would I recommend this pattern? Definitely. I learnt so much making it, and I think I will actually make it again. I've learnt that I can actually adapt patterns like that kind of look like they might be a sort of vintage style and not suit me. I can definitely make it my style by just choosing the right fabric. Obviously not for every pattern, but in this case it worked out really well. So yeah, it is a good pattern. I do highly recommend it, But yeah, be aware that it's photographs rather than illustrations, and I did find the photographs a little bit less clear than some of their other patterns, or certainly less clear than illustrations. Having said that, pattern companies like True Bias or Closet Case tend to do illustrations for their main pattern, and then for their sew along, that's when they use photographs. And sometimes it's useful having both, but I think generally I find illustrations a little bit more clear. I don't know, what do you think? Do you prefer illustrations or photographs in patterns? I mean, obviously, if you can have both, that's better, but I think at the rate that Sew Over It do patterns, I mean, they're releasing one every month. We can't expect them to do a sew along with every single pattern. As I say, most of the time I find their photographs absolutely fine to follow, but for this one I just felt like the fabric choice was a little bit strange when you're trying to give like clear instructions. But that being said, I did manage to follow it. I just think that if you've never made a coat before, you might struggle because of that. I don't know. I don't want to put anyone off trying. I'm always a big champion of like, give it a go. It doesn't matter if it says that the level is advanced or intermediate and you're not sure if you're there yet. So yeah, that's it from me this week. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already, and come and follow me on Instagram and Facebook if you aren't already. And I hope you have a great week, and I will see you again next Sunday. Thanks for watching. Bye.